The initial scene introduces a panicked man in a wrecked house. He's watering a nearly dead tree in his backyard, except for a single branch with a few green leaves barely hanging on. As the camera zooms in on his face, the man turns, revealing his mouth taped shut. If he utters another word, he will die. But how did he get here? The scene flashes back a few weeks. Jack McCall is a literary agent tasked with finding talented writers and selling their books to publishers. Jack is a brilliant businessman and an even more skilled talker. He's renowned among his peers for persuading anyone to do anything. Jack also has a beautiful wife, Caroline, and a 1-year-old son he adores but often neglects for work. Caroline is accustomed to caring for the baby alone and is fed up with her husband's indifference to family responsibilities. One morning at his office, Jack learns that a famous spiritual guru, Dr. Sinja, is in town. A book by him would undoubtedly be a bestseller and highly profitable, which intrigues Jack. He proposes the idea to his team, who are doubtful that a spiritual leader will sign a deal with them, but Jack reminds them of his exceptional persuasive skills.
Hey, I can talk anybody into doing anything.
The following day, he books a meditation session with Dr. Sinja, hoping to meet him. However, during the session, he is distracted and insincere. Just as the session is ending, Jack feigns being overwhelmed and is approached by Dr. Sinja himself. During their conversation, Jack skillfully expresses his desire to share the doctor's work with the world through a book. Dr. Sinja sees through Jack's intentions and walks into his backyard, uninterested in the offer. The backyard features a sacred Bodhi tree that pricks Jack when he touches it. They dismiss the minor injury and continue discussing Jack's proposal. After Jack elaborates on his admiration for Dr. Sinja and his teachings, the guru finally agrees to collaborate with him. Elated, Jack cancels his plans for the rest of the day to visit his mother and share his recent triumph. She resides in a nursing home and suffers from dementia, often calling Jack by incorrect names. Jack had a strained relationship with his late father, Raymond, and is visibly upset when his mother calls him by his father's name. The day worsens in the evening when Jack and Caroline argue. Caroline wants to move to a family-friendly neighborhood for their son's sake, but Jack refuses to leave their bachelor pad. He suggests converting the studio room into a nursery instead. During the argument, the ground shakes, and a Bodhi tree miraculously appears in the backyard, identical to the one that pricked Jack, complete with the red mark. He concludes that Dr. Sinja sent it as a gift. The next morning, Jack is excited to receive Dr. Sinja's book, anticipating it will make him a fortune. However, his hopes are dashed when he discovers the book is only 5 pages long. Believing Dr. Sinja is mocking him, Jack visits the ashram only to find that the spiritual leader insists on keeping the book brief. Jack argues it's a breach of contract, but Dr. Sinja remains firm. When Jack mentions the tree in his backyard, Dr. Sinja's curiosity is piqued. They go to Jack's house to examine the tree, noticing a branch devoid of leaves while the rest of the tree is lush. After thorough inspection, Dr. Sinja makes a startling discovery. Jack's life is now connected to the tree. Each word he speaks causes a leaf to fall, meaning when the leaves are gone, so is his life. Jack panics and attempts to chop the tree down, but injures himself in the process. It becomes clear that harming the tree will harm Jack. His only option is to stop speaking altogether. Dr. Sinja promises to help after consulting his colleagues in Bolivia, but this will take 3 days. The following morning, Jack awakens from a nightmare and attempts to leave a note for his wife. It doesn't take long for him to discover that every word he writes also causes a leaf to fall. In fact, any attempt to communicate in any form makes the tree respond in kind. In the subsequent scene, he dejectedly goes to work, encountering numerous obstacles due to his new affliction. The barista gives him the wrong coffee order, and he causes an accident trying to assist a blind man. However, the day only deteriorates further at work when he is introduced to a crucial investor he cannot speak to. As he struggles through the conversation, two squirrels start climbing the tree at home, making Jack feel ticklish and laugh, thus embarrassing himself. Later that day, he brings his assistant Aaron to a meeting, hoping Aaron can communicate with the investors. During the meeting, Jack sweats profusely because the tree is being watered at home. The investors try to ignore the awkward situation, but the meeting ends disastrously due to Aaron's poor communication skills. After a long day, when Jack finally gets home, Caroline attempts to discuss their relationship. She interprets his silence as anger, leading to a bigger argument and her leaving with the baby. Within just a day of living with the curse, Jack has lost his major investors and his family is hanging by a thread. The gravity of the situation hits him hard, making him feel despondent. He tries calling Dr. Sinja in Bolivia for an update, wasting several leaves, but gets no answer. The next day, Caroline makes a final effort to save their marriage by inviting Jack to a hotel room for a romantic evening. He finds her waiting in lingerie and eagerly enters the room. However, things quickly go south when Caroline asks if he loves her. All Jack can say is yes, prompting Caroline to leave him for good. Immediately after, Jack must attend another meeting with the investors he alienated yesterday. This is his last chance to impress them and apologize for the previous mishap. Although nervous, Jack does his best to adapt, but luck remains elusive. At home, the gardener sprays pesticides on the Bodhi tree, causing Jack to cough uncontrollably. Despite this, his boss tries to continue the meeting before Jack, high on the chemicals, stuffs her nose with a stick. This is the final straw for the investors, who no longer wish to be associated with someone so immature. After the meeting, Jack's boss fires him, ensuring he is blacklisted from the industry. At the end of the day, he angrily goes home and calls his assistant Aaron over. Using a picture, he tries to explain the situation to a bewildered Aaron, who finally understands after several hours. When Aaron doubts the curse's existence, Jack has to waste more words to prove himself. Afterward, he entrusts Aaron with monitoring the tree and goes around the city performing random acts of kindness. He feeds the poor, donates to a church, and rescues a cat stuck in a tree, all while on the phone with Aaron, but nothing breaks the curse. Eventually, Aaron has to return to the office, leaving Jack alone again. He sits in front of the tree, meditating in despair. When relaxed, Jack recalls his childhood. He remembers having a happy family until his father abandoned him and his mother. Even years later, he has been unable to forgive his father, and it has always troubled him. Suddenly, Jack awakens from his meditative state to find out Dr. Sinja is back in town. With renewed hope, he rushes to meet the guru, only to be told that nothing can be done about his situation. Dr. Sinja has consulted every enlightened guru he knows, but none have a solution. At this point, all he can suggest is that Jack must find peace within himself to break the curse. Losing all will to live, Jack returns home and turns to drinking. Aaron comes to his aid and tries to help, but Jack decides to end his life by singing. The tree loses most of its leaves before Aaron knocks Jack out and tapes his mouth shut. As the camera pans toward the tree, we see only one branch of leaves remaining. The next morning, Jack wakes up knowing it is his last day on Earth. He listens to his heart and knows exactly how he wants to use the few words he has left. First, he goes to Caroline and tells her he loves her.
You, me, we, eternity.
Then, he helps a struggling writer he has ignored for months by purchasing his work for $10,000. Next, he takes a walk on the beach, observing people living their lives. An elderly couple talking about their love life reminds him of his childhood. Finally, as it begins to get dark, he visits his mother. She mistakes him for his father again, but this time, Jack plays along. He listens as she happily shares how successful her son is and how proud she is of him. However, there is one thing she doesn't like about Jack. He has too much hatred in his heart and refuses to let it go. She knows he is suffering because of the grudge he holds against his father and believes it is time for him to release it. Although Jack cannot speak, he is left speechless. He finally understands that no matter the success he achieves, he will never be happy until he forgives his father. Determined to do the right thing, Jack tells his mother that he loves her, leaving only the last 3 leaves on the tree. In the following scene, Jack goes to his father's grave and in a moment of revelation tells him that he forgives him.
I forgive you.
With his last words spent, the tree loses its final leaves. Consequently, a sharp pain strikes his chest and he collapses. A few seconds later, his phone rings and he picks it up with all his remaining strength. On the other end, Aaron tells Jack he won't believe what just happened. The tree has magically turned green again and the curse is broken. The scene shifts to a few months later. Dr. Sinja calls Jack to his ashram to congratulate him on writing a book. It is called 1,000 Words and tells Jack's story and his relationship with his father. After the curse was broken, he has become a different person. He is now a family man who is genuinely happy with his life. Meanwhile, Aaron has taken Jack's place in the office and has become as arrogant as his former boss. He is soon about to learn his own lesson, which will come from the Bodhi tree that magically appears in his office. Elsewhere, Jack surprises Caroline by buying her the house she really wanted in a neighborhood where their child can have a good life. He has planted a Bodhi tree in the yard to remember the lessons he has learned. The movie ends with the couple playing with their child in their new home. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, so you never miss our future explorations of timeless classics and hidden gems. Until then, happy watching, and I'll catch you in the comments.